a steady diet of government cheese and living in a van down by the river.
Live from the basement of the YouTube headquarters, it's the Stacking Benjamin Show. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and on today's show, how's your holiday season? Has your favorite aunt or uncle shared money tips at a holiday party yet? If they did, don't listen to them. They were drunk. And if not, on today's show, let's share the basics according to one of the great minds in personal finance, Jonathan Clements. To help us dive into Jonathan's work, we welcome the woman who starts by telling you that you can afford anything, Paula Pant. And the guy who tells you to always earn and invest in listening to podcasts, that is, Doc G. And just like that favorite uncle who never smiles while he's telling you to pull his finger, it's OG. And of course, let's take a pause halfway to feature our last trivia segment of 2025. Looks like today's my last day of work. And now, a guy who's ready to share some advice with the kids, it's Joe Saul-Sehy.
Hey there, Stackers. Happy Friday in the middle of the holiday season. I'm super happy that we're here with you. And I feel like we have take a podcaster to alternate work day today. We'll get to that in a second. Let's say hi to the guy across the card table from me, though, whose purpose is to be the guy across the card table from me. Mr. OG's here. How are you, man?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for asking, sir.
It sounded like I'm okay. But I'm glad you're here.
Perfectly great. I'm very, very much happy to be here.
Somebody has a birthday coming up, by the way. Would you know who that is?
Jesus.
Sweet baby Jesus.
And OG. Is that a coincidence? I don't know. Might not be. And here is the guy who's excited to talk about purpose, because rumor has it he might have a book coming out on the topic. I haven't heard anything about it, though. Doc G's here. How are you, man?
I'm good. You know what my purpose is? Kicking ass on trivia, baby.
All right. Throwing down the gauntlet.
I'm bringing it today. I'm only going to be off by like 6 figures instead of 7.
Perfect
language, Doc.
Every boy has a dream, Doc. Every boy has a dream.
For sure.
And yours is to not be off by 7 figures on trivia. And by the way, let's welcome our people who are here working other jobs. A woman who's been in the fields all day working because she's got the overalls on. It's Farmer Paula Pant.
You know, the overalls are great. And you know what? These are rented. These are rented overalls.
Because who would buy overalls?
Okay. Things are tough in the Paula Pant universe.
Oh, geez, like you mean those are a cry for help is what those are.
I know. I will donate my charity winnings or my winnings to the Paula Pant charity to help her buy her own pants.
I know Paula's already thinking about it. This podcasting thing doesn't work out. I've got a job at a cornfield somewhere. That's exactly it.
I'm telling you, overalls year round, they're comfortable. They, it's a good way to, it's like better than a belt to keep your pants on your body.
Yes, correct. It's,
if anybody has any trouble keeping their pants on, it's Paula. I was trying to decide, like, in real time, like, can I do it? Can I do it? Is it too far? Is it too far? I think it's okay. I'm going to do it.
And now it's out. Well, it's okay, OG, because she's not the only person who's looking at another job. Apparently, neighbor Doug's selling fish sticks after the show. He's dressed like Mrs. Paul's cousin or something.
I think I look pretty sporty.
Why do you have 7 layers of clothes on?
I'm in the middle of a winter weather event. Here.
Is that like an ascot?
I believe you're indoors.
Is he wearing an ascot? What is that thing around his neck?
It looks like it. Is it an ascot?
I don't know.
You have a quarter zip, then a winter coat.
This is not a winter coat.
He needs a pipe.
It's a puffy shirt.
He does need a pipe.
He needs a pipe. He'd be perfect.
He totally needs a pipe.
You saying I
talk
look
about
like
the winter squalls?
Gordon's fish sticks.
Thurston Howell III? Is that what you say I look like?
Oh, this is going to be fun. Hey, today, guys, we do have a very serious topic today, which is one of the top minds of personal finance. You know, there are so many different topics in personal finance. There's so many voices, and oh my goodness, if you're on social media in any of these social media groups, it can eat your soul hearing all of these different opinions. But there are a few people whose opinions, when they give them, have been incredibly valuable to my life. And one of those people have been a guy that was the personal finance columnist at the Wall Street Journal for a long time. Now the editor and creator of a blog called The Humble Dollar, Jonathan Clements. And Jonathan is out with some great advice about, I think, great to share at the end of the year. What is this all about? What train are we on as we all work toward a better future for ourselves, having more money, stacking up some Benjamins, affording anything, earning and investing as much as we can, right? What is this truly about? So we're going to dive into Jonathan and some tips that he has today. But before that, we've got a couple sponsors that make this show go so that we can keep on keeping on and make it free for you. We're going to hear from them, and we're going to dive into advice from Jonathan Clements here at the end of the year. Today's piece, as I mentioned earlier, comes to us from The Humble Dollar and is written by Jonathan Clements. And for people that aren't familiar with Jonathan's work, I'm just going to read the open to this piece about why it's so important. He says, on Sunday morning, and by the way, this was written back in June, but I saved it for now. On Sunday morning, I was enjoying croissants and coffee with Elaine at the kitchen table while watching the neighborhood sparrows, finches, cardinals, and squirrels have their way with a bird feeder. Always right in our little world, except I was a little wobbly when walking. The result, I thought, of balance issues caused by an ear infection. It's going to be a busy week, and I figured it'd be smart to get some antibiotics inside me, even if visiting the urgent care clinic on Sunday might be more expensive than contacting my primary care physician on Monday and perhaps having to go in for an appointment. Long story short, I ended the day in an intensive care unit of a local hospital where the staff discovered lung cancer that's metastasized to my brain and a few other spots. This, as you may imagine, has meant a few changes in my life, and there will be more to come. And then he jokes, I have no desire for Humble Dollar to become Humble Death Watch, but my prognosis is not good. I've had 3 brain radiation treatments, and I started chemotherapy. And by the way, his prognosis still here in December is not good. Big shout out to Jonathan, and we're always thinking about him. But Jonathan has done a wonderful job of thinking about us, because Jonathan's always cranked out great work, but this piece is just absolutely amazing. He's got 7 points about really life and what this all kind of means. And well, Jordan, let's start with you. Which one of these points, and don't go to the last one immediately, the one about purpose. Let's start with one of the top 6. Which one of these points of Jonathan's really stood out to you that are one of the big life lessons he shares with us here?
Money and regret are intimately tied together. And I really actually see this. So as you guys may or may not know, I'm a hospice doctor. So I deal with people on their deathbeds. I deal with end of life. And people often talk about what they regret. And they say things like, I never had the energy, courage, or time to do X, Y, or Z. But instead of energy, courage, or time, sometimes it just comes down to money. A lot of people never felt like they had the money to do the things they wanted to do. They had to go to work instead of go play. They couldn't buy the thing or get the experience because they didn't have the money to do it. And so I think, unfortunately, while it doesn't have to be this way, I think for the grand majority of us, money and regret really are intimately tied together. And often the lack of money or worries about money can keep us from doing things that are deeply important to us.
Paula, as Jordan's talking about this, at first I thought he was going to go one way, but really talking about regret kind of brings up the carrot in the stick, doesn't it? Like, I feel like for some people, it's the carrot. I want to have more money. I want to have more life. But for other people, to Doc's point, it's much more about, I want to make sure I don't regret things later. And that's the reason. Which one was it for you? What made you really start saving? Was it, I don't want to regret later, or I just want more flexibility?
What made me start saving was total anxiety about the future.
It was trying to avoid regret.
Yeah, it was regret avoidance. It was regret minimization because, but not in terms of life experiences, but in terms of, I didn't want to be a senior citizen who suddenly realizes that they are ill prepared. And so even when I was in my 20s, I was thinking ahead to that and, trying to do whatever I could to ward off, I was like, look, right now I'm young, so I have time on my side. Let's do what we need to do now so that, I don't enter my 60s or my 70s and regret the choices that I made in my 20s.
OG, as I think about regret, I think about Susie Orman, and there is, and the fact that I will never own a private island and can't invest. What's the big number? $10 bajillion, Paula, that she said on your show that you had to have?
She said you needed a minimum of 10 million in order to retire, but she also said that she herself
Just
had,
10.
I think, around 20 to 25 million. I mean, that was in 2018 dollars, so you have to adjust it for inflation.
Exactly. Yes. But I will give credit where credit's due. Susie said something that was the first time I really thought about regret with money. Maybe 7 or 8 years ago, she said to everybody that thinks they can't save now, imagine you're 70 years old and you've never saved. How are you going to feel then? And OG, for me, where I didn't think regret really worked, all of a sudden I went, man, maybe I should save faster. Like I was saving pretty good, even when I heard that. And I was sure I was on the right path. And I'm like, maybe I need to go. How often do you see with your clients, OG, that it's the stick versus the carrot that really gets them moving?
Yeah, I don't think it's the stick very often.
You don't see the regret thing.
No, I don't. And maybe because people who are entertaining the idea of working with professionals around money already understand, they're kind of already past the Paula stage of like, well, I got to do something. Like I know I'm doing this. I just need to like optimize it to do it faster or better or more efficiently or something. Because I find it's really difficult to convince somebody of the negative thing in the future. It's interesting that you were talking about that because I was thinking about concept of saving and investing, and I was doing some, because who else but me just sits on their phone on the HP calculator and does present value calculations and goes, all right, if I need this amount of money, if I just save this, I guess, can I do that? So for me, it's much more of a, like, what does that financial independence turn into in terms of lifestyle? That's kind of how I think about it. I don't think about like, oh God, I'll be 70 without money. Cause then I just go, I'll just keep working, I'll do something. But I look at it the other way and go, but if I can figure out a way, if I can only save $600,000 a year for the next 15 years, then I'll be set. It's like, oh, is that all? Okay, well, let's break it down by months instead. Okay, that's only $50,000 a month. Okay, that's still not going to work. Like dividing it by 12 makes it easier. But my point is for me, it's much more about what it gets me. And I think for our clients, they're strong achievers also. And sometimes you got to use that stick part a little bit. And I think maybe more of that's around some blind spots that people have. Like we talked about on Wednesday, maybe a little bit around insurance or estate planning or something like that, where it's just like, I don't think I have to do that. It's like, whoa. Yeah, you do. Because if you don't, the government's going to take half your stuff, or your minor child is going to have to go to court to get money to buy food and groceries. You have to kind of use that like picturesque, like it's going to suck unless you do it this more efficient way. But I don't know about the savings things. Most of our conversations are about freedom and about like, what does this get us the opportunity to do in terms of where we are? So we've saved this money. What does it mean? Can I go to 80% time now instead of full time? Can I take Fridays off? Like, can I save a little bit less, take a lower stress job? Like those sorts of things. Not so much like, if I don't save, I'm screwed.
It's funny you say that because during my career as a financial planner, I didn't see enough people that weren't doing enough and needed to do more. It was generally people, to your point, OG, that were already on the right track and needed it rearranged better. I would always get so excited when I could actually help somebody figure out a way to get the right savings amount to finally put them over the edge. Like those were great moments. It was so fun. But sadly, I think that is the vast majority of people. But even for those people, Doc, I think this idea that he presents, my first thought when he says money's intimately bound up with regret, I do think that regret is a useless emotion because you can't go back and change it. There's nothing that you can do. Oh.
So it depends on who we're talking about, right? So I think regret is a useless emotion on your deathbed because you don't have a lot of agency to go back and change things. You don't have energy, you don't have time, etc. But I think regret is very useful in young people. So if you can look forward and say, if I was on my deathbed, I found out I was going to die tomorrow and I would really regret X, then I can flip that around and turn it into what I call a purpose anchor, something to start building purpose and activities around. And so I'll give a perfect example. 5-10 years ago, if you had said, what will you really regret on your deathbed if you find out that you're going to, die next week, it would be not traditionally publishing a book. Honestly, it was one of those big things for me, but I never had the courage to pursue it. So, but I was able to kind of turn that knowledge of, I'd really regret this, and turn that into actually a purposeful activity. So
that's funny. I mean, to put it into context this time of year, it's kind of Ebenezer Scrooge, right? He gets visited by the three ghosts and sees all this stuff and goes, oh my God, I still have a chance.
And there's another point to that too. And I think you were making that. So there's a nuance. There's actually two different kinds of regret. There's action regret and inaction regret. A lot of what we talk about is inaction regret. I wish I did this thing and I didn't, and I was thwarted for whatever reason. Maybe it was money. Maybe it was something else. That's inaction regret. There's also action regret. It's like, I'm really sad I drank and drive and got into that car accident and damaged everyone else's cars. That's action regret. But I even think a lot of times when you have action regret, what you're really regretting is that you didn't make up for it. Like you didn't right the wrong. You didn't go back and fix things or apologize or build something important off of it. So I think, again, regret can be beneficial, but it's hard for it to be as beneficial when you're on your deathbed because you just don't have a lot of agency to change things.
I was thinking of a morning, a time or two, and I've woken up and went, I probably shouldn't have gotten on social media after a few adult beverages. Like maybe I was a little bit more, maybe I need to put a little bit more velvet on that hammer with that person I disagreed with. Paula, what's another one on this list that you really like?
So I liked when he said that we can control risk, but we can't eliminate it. And he talks about how in his family, he doesn't really have a family history of cancer. And there have been very few occurrences of cancer in the history of his family. And so it was, in his view, it was a minimized risk, but clearly it wasn't eliminated. That's a particularly poignant example. But I think in a lot of ways, both big and small, we see ways in which we can try to, probabilistically put ourselves into a decent spot, but there are a lot of humans in the world, and there are a lot of events that happen in the world. And when I say events, I mean like I went to work today. That is an event, right?
In the cornfield.
Yeah, exactly. I put on overalls today. That's an event, right? And I don't regret it. And just law of large number states that with this many humans and this many events, sometimes you're on that narrow side of probability where things just don't go in the way in which you want it to.
Well, and we spoke with Seth Godin this fall on the show, and he was talking about strategy, Paula, and a phrase that he used that I'm going to steal is he said, this is why a compass is better than a map, because it isn't about laying out a plan that's static. It's about looking for your north. And then as things change, like cancer or the car accident that Doc G talked about, or whatever thing comes your way, that you've got this compass to find your way back. Like this, Paula, is the reason why we have an emergency fund, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's that planning for the unexpected.
Yeah. Which, I would think that dealing with the law of larger numbers, meaning the average person out there, okay, a disability probably won't happen to you. But working with, let's say, 100 families, you probably see a disability happen to somebody fairly often, which means we should probably keep that in the crosshairs.
Well, I mean, look at the story that you sent Doug and I from Apple News a couple of hours ago.
Oh, I didn't do that. Doug sent that to us.
Oh, Doug sent it? The murder of the United Health CEO, like down the street from Paula, I'm sure there's more to the story and we'll find stuff out as it comes. But, a crazy person does a crazy thing at a crazy time. And, he wasn't thinking about it this morning. Like, boy, I better be careful when I walk to work today. It was just, I'm going to a meeting, or the wrong way driver or whatever the case may be. Like, I think, I don't know who said this, Joe, you'll recognize it right away, but somebody was on the show and said, your story never ends when it's supposed to. It always ends in the middle.
Yeah,
and
Mike Baker.
Yeah. At some level, it's a little bit of a dangerous way to kind of think, because you're like, well, YOLO, right? You don't have to worry about tomorrow because, I could get hit by a car on my jog. So why bother jogging? But you should probably still exercise, right? I could go to the gym and the barbell could crush my trachea and I could die,
which is why I don't go to the gym.
Exactly. Or I'm weak and infirm and I die from osteoporosis or whatever happens when your bones stop working. It's like, I guess you probably can't die from that, but it's
you fall.
Sure.
Yeah.
It's a symptom for living a pretty crappy 15 years on the back end, I suppose. So, I mean, it's a great phrase. You can work to minimize risks, and you're not going to eliminate it, because you just have to decide which one of those is the greater crime, right? Is it worse to, be uncomfortable by working out, or is it worse to be old and infirm?
Well, which brings me to, Doc, this whole idea, I think that we talk about a lot in personal finance, which is plan for the worst. But like you and I've worked together for a long time. I'm an optimist, right? Things are always great. Tomorrow, things are going to be fantastic. I think you hear about entrepreneurs in general. We are optimistic people. However, plan for the worst all the time. Like whenever online I hear somebody go, "Oh, I'm betting on the stock market to do 9%." You're like, "Oh, why don't we bet on 7? Hey, I'm keeping minimal amount of money in my emergency fund. Why don't you keep a little more?" Like plan for the worst. I think, Doc, is a much better strategy.
It's hard because I think we have to have a mindset of risk mitigation and reasonableness. But then I also think we have to have a little bit of memento mori, which is exactly what Jonathan Clements is bringing us. Memento mori, this idea of that we carry death with us every day, the knowledge of our own death. And so that's present in our thinking and about how we look at today and what we do and what we get involved in. And it is a balance, because we do want to realize that each day is sacred and we want to take advantage of those things. And we do want to build a sense of the important things now, as opposed to waiting 15 years for when we're retired or when we have enough money. But on the other hand, we also want to risk mitigate, because we might live to 85 or 90 and we don't want to YOLO all our money away today. And we have to be very reasonable. And so I think we all are faced with this difficult juggling act of keeping all of those things centered. And that's why when someone like Jonathan Clements talks very openly about what he's going through, he's reminding us that we have to do both. And I think that's, by telling about his experience, but then also by being very reasonable and talking about all these issues. He's telling us to both risk mitigate and to keep this idea that death is always with you, and we have to also live today.
It's funny. I didn't think about this going in. I did think this was appropriate for this time of year, which is why I left it for now. But I do think this is kind of the Ebenezer Scrooge story.
You'll be visited by 3 ghosts.
We're going to do that. By the way, that episode, we're going to play it again on the 24th of December. Doug and the 3 Ghosts will make a return appearance this year and should be a lot of fun. Actually, I take that back. 25th of December, we're going to do that. So on Christmas Day. OG, let's end the first half with yours. Which one do you want to point a finger at?
Well, I'd have to go with money is with uncertainty, kind of certainty, uncertainty type of thing. I know he talked about, because of the uncertainty, it's really difficult to, I think he said, but ever more so than now. And I think what he means by that is him personally,
right?
Like it's uncertain for him personally right now because of timeframes. But I think that also goes back to what Paula was saying about risk. And it's like, you can't plan on, well, I'll probably get hit by a bus when I'm 70. So, that's like a pretty, clients give us a lot of grief over this because we plan for them to live to be 100. Right. And they go, 100, come on. And I said, well, hold on a second. No, you don't understand. My grandparents were all dead in their 80s. Like, okay, but your grandpa was born in 1900 also, where infant mortality was a thing. Think about how lucky he was to make it to 12, let alone to 80. And now we've got the rate of change, the rate of healthcare change that's happening, and disease management and all this other sort of stuff. I don't know what's going to happen over the next 50 years, but I bet it's going to happen faster than the last 50. So do you want to pick 90 and have that slope of that line hit 0 right at 90 and go, whew, I'm out? Or should we make it 100? Just, or 110?
If I'm putting the last quarter in the Coke machine right as I have that last massive heart attack, like that's perfect.
Well, of course it is. So if you knew that for certain, then everybody could plan around it, but you can't. So you have to plan for a longer time period. And then on the other side of it, you have to have plans for what if it doesn't happen as fast, because my family's counting on me working for the next 10 years and saving some amount of money, not $50,000 a month. That'd be nice. But like that's part of the plan too. And if I don't get that part done, it's not like, well, sorry, it didn't work out. We have to have plans for that. We have to have plans for the other side as well. And, hopefully the longer side works, but, I don't feel like it's uncertain in a sense of like investing. I think it's an uncertain time frame. That's what makes it uncertain.
And I feel like when I read this, Paula, the first thing I thought about was investing, right? Because I was trying to look at it through the eyes of a new stacker, somebody that's just maybe starting out. And they said, managing money is fraught with uncertainty, but never more so than now. And the first thing I thought wasn't Jonathan and his life, which is clearly, OG, I agree. This is what he's talking about, is his life. Personally, it's more uncertain. But I thought about all those people that are on social media, talking about the uncertainty around the election, the new administration coming in. We've got all this uncertainty in the financial markets. We've got who knows what's going on with tech stocks. We've got all of this weirdness happening all over the place. The Federal Reserve, what's going to happen there? Like, managing money is fraught with uncertainty. The first thing, Paula, brand new investors always do, as you know, is they go, well, then I'm not going to invest, because that's where the uncertainty is. How do you convince a brand new person, a brand new afforder, stacker, earner, to twist that around and go, no, the whole reason you have to invest is because of uncertainty?
I would say if you keep all of your money in cash, you will certainly lose purchasing power to inflation.
You will certainly go nowhere.
You will certainly end up having less money in purchasing power. That is a certainty. And if you keep all of your money in bonds or T-bills, if starting at the age of 20, the only thing you ever invest in is only bonds, you certainly are not going to reach your retirement goals. You can have the certainty about a negative outcome, or you can take some risk, and risk goes hand in hand with reward. So it isn't about eliminating risk. It's just about managing that risk to something that's not going to wipe you out, something you can tolerate.
I thought, given your getup today, you were going to go, you got to plant the crop. Like, you just got to teach people how to plant.
Exactly.
And the growing season. I was sure. And by the way, to go back earlier, I was surprised, as surprised as you were, OG, that Doug texted us that horrible news earlier today as we record this about that unfortunate incident, because I thought he was out delivering fish sticks. Like, I had no idea he'd have time to read while he's on his route.
It's not joke time, Joe.
Read the room, Joe.
Tragic event.
Doc, I want to go to you last, because this we've had a lot of death in my family this year, and you see it every day. I've seen it more than I want to see it in a given year, just seeing it twice in a year. But there's so much uncertainty around that time for the family, for the person, for everybody. This idea that life is uncertain, like outside of drugs, right? How are you able to help people with this most uncertain time of their life? Because they don't know. Nobody knows what's coming next.
So believe it or not, even in the midst of uncertainty of our longevity, et cetera, what we do try to do is bring in a certainty of controlling symptoms, providing them a peaceful environment, and allowing them to be with family and friends. And so when I get a cancer patient, for instance, and they're reaching the end stages, I can't tell them when they're going to die. I can't tell them how many good days they're going to have left, but I can with certainty tell them that we will do our best to control your pain, that we've got these great medications, and that if you want to be home, we'll try to provide the best nursing and the best care, and try to give people something to look forward to every day, even in the midst of all this. And I think there's some certainty in that. Most people wake up.
Are you saying, wait a minute, hold on a second. Are you saying for all of us, focus on what you can control?
Yes, I'm a big fan of agency. Most people wake up every morning with a plan for the day. And let me tell you, the dying do just as much as the living.
Yeah, I think that's a great place to leave the first half. Let's try to brighten this up a little bit, guys. and go to the most ridiculous part of our show, which is our trivia at the halfway point of the show. If you're brand new here, we have had this year-long trivia competition, which ends today. And why don't we get this out of the way? We've already declared a winner. OG this morning received his prize from Stacker Eric. Thank you so much, Stacker Eric, who donated a great gift, a Milk Bar gift certificate to OG and his family. And it's pretty exciting, OG.
The last guy who needs it.
I know.
He's so taken, he's shedding a tear.
That is. Would you like to make a victory speech before we do today's trivia, OG, now that you finally did it?
I just want to thank my my fans, my parents, my lovely wife, Lissa. She was with me every step of the way. My kids, Alex, William, and Caroline. This isn't the end. This is just turning the page, and we're looking forward to another championship season next year. And there is no off season for the OG. It's just we just go right into the next season. So it's another ring. We just gotta keep filling up the hand, like the Pittsburgh Steelers. We need one for the thumb.
I had so much fun this week in the Afford Anything Facebook group, where someone in the Afford Anything Facebook group said, "I just got to say, when it comes to Stacking Benjamins trivia, I'm Team Paula." And I want to help Paula devise a way to beat OG. And she said, "We're coming for you, OG. Ooh, we're coming for you." Yes.
Bring the lumber, as the kids say.
So, Paula, I think you've got some people in the Afford Anything community. Maybe you need an advisory council next year.
Hey, you know what? Jake Paul beat Mike Tyson. So,
That is more scripted than my trivia. That fight.
I would tell you my thoughts on that, but immediately we'll get the circle of death at Netflix ad immediately. Oh, my goodness. And I had a room full of people. It's not a great night. Anyway, where were we? Oh, yeah, our trivia. Doug, tell us, what is the score? Because I think, can Paula still overcome Doc G/Mom for second?
Not overcome. I think she can tie, because the score I have is that OG has like 13,000. And then Joe's mom and whoever's been playing for Joe's mom over the course of the year has 11. And I've got Paula at 10. So if Paula wins today, she can tie for second place.
Paula got to 10 and got within and tie. So, Paula, we're saying there's a chance.
I mean, I have mixed emotions about that, because losing trivia is just so on brand. I think if I
no, Paula, you can't steal that from me. That's my brand. You're the Afford Anything person, not everything. I'm the lose trivia.
Wait, is this going to be like the NFL draft where it's the last game of the year and we're both throwing the pick? Like, Paula's like, I'll say 9 billion.
It's losing trivia is such a core part of my identity. I don't know what I would ever do without being in third place.
Let's see if the future begins now. Doug, what's our last trivia question of the year?
Hey there, Stackers. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. And in many ways, I'm really sad this year is over. I mean, no more OG gloating over yet another win. That's going to be tough to not hear that anymore. And to hear Paula have one of two choices and pick the wrong one like every time. Actually, now that I think about it, that's statistically incredible that she's able to do that.
I've thought that too.
Like all good things, Doug's trivia comes to an end. So here is the last question of the year. One of the first Benjamin Stacking worldwide tours began on today's date by a guy named Sir Francis Drake. He sailed to exotic places like Fort Lauderdale because he heard the MTV Spring Break crew was going to be there. And even California, where, and I have this on good authority, he went to Knott's Berry Farm. It could have happened. Hey, you don't know. You don't even know. Here was today's question. What year did Drake's 3-year journey begin? I'll be back right after I plot how I'm going to get out of the basement after OG probably wins again and his head gets so big that it like squashes the rest of us out of the basement, like squirting us out of the windows like pumpkin seeds.
Don't even want to imagine that. I will imagine OG guessing first, though. Francis Drake began his 3-year journey around the world today, way back in what year, OG?
So to be fair, when you said Sir Francis Drake, I was like, Drake started a tour on today's
Started
day.
his diss track tour.
I didn't know his first name was Francis. Interesting.
It's his
I thought
cousin.
Drake was his first name or stage name, but I'm just not really up with the culture. But hey, whatever. His name's Francis. Cool. I mean, whatever. Honestly, I'd probably hide it too. You know, that's all I was thinking. And then you started talking about sailing, and I was like, oh, you're talking about the maritime Drake.
Guy who wore
way
the funny
different guy.
collars. Yeah.
Yes. Way
was it
different
maritime?
guy.
Is that why you dress like a fisherman?
It's to go with the theme.
Somebody picked it
It's
up.
the theme. Yeah. It's the theme. He's a longshoreman. So Drake's Passage comes to mind, and I wish I could phone a friend here because I feel like my kids are studying this right now.
Oh, we've heard that line before.
We have, just before somebody totally cheated our trivia.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Anyways, that's right.
I know exactly how
I'm gonna
long the Dead Sea is.
Isn't it 487.2 meters? I'm going to say it was 1,500 and see 1492. I think it was like 1582. I'm going to say 1582 because I think the Drake's Passage thing was like 1585. And you said 3 years, so I'm saying 1582.
1582 for OG. Doc, what are you thinking?
I think the 1400s are too early. I think the 1600s are too late. So I was falling kind of just right off the bat where OG landed. I'm going to say it's 1550 and give Paula a wide swath of above or below. But I think OG is pretty close.
We got 1550 and 1588. Was that
No, he
OG?
said
82.
1582.
Okay. Well, so when I heard the question, the first number that popped into my head was probably the 1600s. So I'm going to capture the upside and say 1583.
Sure you don't want to rethink that?
I'm sure.
I don't know the answer. I'm just saying. You've been confident before.
Just watch. The answer is going to be like 1549.
Of course. And if it is, oh, Lord. Oh, man. All right. Well, who's got this one? We'll be right back and find out. OG, you kicked this thing off by saying 1582, and then you heard the guesses afterwards. How you feeling confident?
Yes, extremely.
because he's since Googled it.
Did you know?
I didn't Google it, but I think 1585 is the number. So I feel really close with that.
So
And
1582.
since they both gave me a lot of space, I know I'm good.
All right, then Doc G, you said what year?
I said 1550, and I have quite a bit of certainty that I'm in the right century.
Doc, you said 50, you said 50?
1550, I thought, but
1550. Yes.
Oh, I
Why,
thought
what
he
did you
said
have?
1515. That changes nothing.
No, he said
1550.
Changes nothing.
1550. And then Paula, you came through by saying
1583.
1583, a year after OG. So let's see who won this thing. Are you sure you didn't Google it, OG?
I didn't, no. But I think it's...
I don't know who it is.
I
You
think
just sounded
I think
very
it's like
confident.
15. Yeah, no. Because, I have nothing to lose, man.
he's OG.
I really think it was 1585 was like when he got the Drake Passage. I don't know why I feel that number, but then...
That would mean Paula
I was
would
going
be
to say
it.
you shouldn't be so
Yeah, but you
confident.
said 3 years. You said it took 3 years. So when did he start? So I get 1585
You'd have
minus
83,
3.
84, 85. Just doing some
Backwards. 82 plus 3 is 85, bro. Nice try.
Yeah, we're not asking what year he finished. We're asking what year he started.
All right, give us
He
the
began.
god darn
And I
answer
said
already.
Stop
arguing.
85 minus 3 is 82. I'm right.
Stop
Print it.
arguing.
Let's
Can
go.
I just do my stuff here? Oh my God. People are all idiots. Hey there, stackers. I'm your favorite history professor and guy who both Rand and McNally look to for help, Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug. This Francis Drake dude could have been a rapper in another life. While he was the second in command of the English Navy when they defeated the Spanish Armada, his frequent victories made him a pirate to the Spaniards, arg, who called him El Drake. Seriously, why that guy didn't get signed to a hip-hop label is beyond me. But we can't speculate on that. You know why? Spoiler alert, it's because Drake died a long time ago. That's why.
Thank you.
You know why dinosaurs can't talk? Because they're all dead. And because I've got an answer to give you.
Oh, thank God.
See, Francis Drake started circling the globe just 27 years after Doc G thought, 6 years before Paula thought, and 5 years before OG thought. The correct answer is 1577, making
On brand.
Fudging OG our winner.
On effing brand, Paula Pant.
Joe's like, are you sure? Are you sure?
I was not only in the right century, I was in the... No. I was
half
close.
a century even.
That was just so painful to watch.
It's very close. So 1580, my bad.
Paula's like, hashtag nailed it.
Wow.
Oh. When your gut says go left.
Well, it's funny because I was the middle band was so narrow. I was going to capture either the upside or downside. So I was going to go with either 1583 or 1549, both of which would have been wrong.
You didn't entertain 1580.
Yeah, just that middle band just seemed too narrow.
Oh man.
Okay.
Well, OG gets
Rich get richer.
another lap around the track. Yes, gets to wave at his fans one more time. Let's jump into the second half of the show and dive into Jonathan Clements because he has, well, 4 more, but the last one's around purpose, which I don't want to talk about. So, but Doc, let's give you the first one for the second half. Which one you want to point to next?
It is toughest on those left behind. And I think of this really in 2 different ways. And again, remember, I'm a hospice doctor, so I see this all the time. One, it's toughest on those left behind because you have to deal with the will and the trusts and have to like sort everything out. And that is just a pain, even when it's well planned for. So first and foremost, dealing with someone's estate sucks. The other side, and I always say this as a hospice doctor, is the person who's dying, their suffering ends. But unfortunately, those who are left behind, their suffering can last for decades. In other words, when we feel badly around the death of a loved one, we carry that with us for long periods of time. And so I think it really is true. I think it's really hard to watch someone you love die. And I think we carry that with us over time.
Well, this brings up 2 different things. Let's start with the estate plan, OG. I think that what Doc G says is just spot on. This estate plan is just so important.
Well, it's really important. And in most circumstances and in most cases, there's absolutely nothing from a money standpoint that you have to do immediately. And I was just talking with a friend of mine whose father had passed away, and we were talking about something else. And the topic of money and family came up, and he goes, even though everything was all squared away, all of a sudden, all the real feelings about the money came out. And it was like, even though we knew this is how Dad wanted it and this is how it was going to be, and it was pretty simple to do, it was still the one relative who goes, I know I'm going to get something, but just can I get $5,000 right now? Because I got the thing going on that I really need. And then you get the guilt and the annoyingness of like, well, no, because then if I give you $5,000 right now, I have to give everybody $5,000 right now. And I'm not ready to do that because we're still at the freaking hospital. So how about we just settle down about who's getting what when? And, and it's just a weird issue with money. It's just a wild thing. And the more that you can, I think, plan for that and I think do a service to your family and talk about it. Like, here's where the stuff is. That's super important, right? Here's the binder. Here's the phone number of the attorney. Let me introduce you to the financial guy and the CPA so everybody knows who's who. That's great. But sit down and go through the darn thing and go, here's how things are set up. And here's what you should be thinking about. I have an IRA. If you take this freaking money in cash, you nimwit, you have to pay a bunch of money in taxes. Do you know when you find out you have to pay a bunch of money in taxes? In 15 months after you spent all the money. So then you're going to find out, like, your CPA is going to go, wait, hold on. You took $180,000 out of Dad's new IRA? Did you save 70 of that? Because you have to pay tax. No, I don't save 70. It's like this big, like, here's where the money is. Here's what it means. And I think that's part of your job. If you're going to be a steward of your wealth, the whole idea of an estate plan, right, is to like, not just go, F it, who cares? The whole idea is to say, like, I'm taking this and I'm trying to provide for the next generation or generations beyond me, to just give them a big, thick binder and go, best wishes, hugs and kisses, Dad, is, I think, it's like a half a step, but just go the full step and go, let me open this stuff up so that you don't have to say I've got $1 million, but how about you talk about what an IRA is?
Yeah.
How about you do some education and say, based on the tax laws right now, you're going to have to pay taxes on this. And you should listen to what, Josh says or whatever about, some of these things.
We have a family member in charge of one of the estates who just is ill-equipped, was clearly the wrong person. I feel bad for her, frankly, because she's in overhead and because she feels inadequate. I feel this is me projecting, but I feel like because she feels inadequate, she's hiding stuff. She's not bringing anybody into the conversation. She's lost. I feel like she's truly lost. Not even the attorney. We've even talked to the attorney. If you try to like help, then you're the
greedy in-law who's, get your fingers out of the bucket.
It is super sad to watch. And frankly, the person that passed away could have, to your point, solved a lot of that by just having the family sit down ahead of time. Yes. Well, one of my favorite questions that we fielded on your show, Paula, has been the question, though. OG brought this up. The feelings around money. Remember that caller that was talking about, I don't know what to do with them. Sure, I know what to do about the money, but I want to make, what was it? I want to make dad proud, or I really want to make, like, the dollar bill doesn't have emotion, Paula, and yet the estate has so much emotion.
Yeah. We recently took a call from, you and I answered a call from a listener who had inherited about $1 million. And up until that point in his life, he was in his early 30s. He was naturally quite good with money. So, he throughout his 20s and early 30s, he had always been a frugal and careful steward with money. But suddenly he had this big responsibility, and with it came the emotional heft of knowing that his I think it was his father, his loved one, sacrificed. Though basically that money represents hours of that person's life, And so by virtue of accepting that money, that inheritance, he was accepting all of the time, all of the sacrifice, all of the parties that guy didn't go to
build that fortune.
Exactly. The early mornings that guy woke up to a blaring alarm in 30-degree, in freezing temperatures.
I was really happy to read that because, the study after study shows people see inheritances like it's windfall, found money, and they do stupid stuff with it. They just, and to feel that weight, I thought was, I don't know, it was a good thing.
It means he respects what went into the money. He respects everything, all of the stress that went into creating that.
Paula, let's stick with you. We got a couple left here. Which one of the two do you want to, which one do you want to stick with OG with? This is the last one.
Let's see. We've talked about uncertainty. We've talked about regret. Have we talked about how the cliche is true? Something like this makes you truly appreciate life?
We have not. We haven't talked about the cliche is true. We have not talked about generosity.
Let's say generosity is a good one to end on. So let's talk about how the cliche is true.
Especially this time of year, it's good to talk about generosity last. So let's talk about the cliche. What's he talking about there, Paula? So
he's saying that when, for him, it was his cancer diagnosis and him seeing that the end is near. But the cliche of you start to appreciate the really small, simple things in life. You appreciate the feeling of the sun when it hits your skin and warms it up. You appreciate the smell of a cup of coffee, a really freshly brewed cup of coffee. Like you appreciate all of these small things because, and that is a bit of a cliche, but sometimes things are cliche because they contain wisdom. And so often we think that we need the big stuff. We need the hiking Mount Kilimanjaro, right? But often it's that fresh cup of coffee.
I found it is so funny. I always thought that spending more money would be a bigger thing and a better thing. And don't get me wrong, there are things in my life where I've enjoyed the hell out of spending tons of money. But it truly is the little things that make me appreciate, like when I do these epic adventures, like really what went into them. And I appreciate them even more. But Doug, you were even talking about this morning. You were talking about just appreciating the snowfall around your house and putting on some snowshoes and just like this little tiny thing.
I was late to one of our recording sessions because I was drinking an incredible cup of coffee in front of a fire, looking outside at the snow falling, and I just was like that moment. I just thought, just sit here for a minute, Doug. Don't look at your phone. Just sit here for a second and soak this in. And there aren't many of those because we are so easily distracted by so many other pieces of media. The phone, not the least of which is our phone, but. You don't get many of those moments where you can tell yourself to pause because you realize this is the good stuff.
It's funny. Cheryl and I, when we really started examining our expenses and looking at what we truly appreciate, we found that when we're really busy, we go out to restaurants more often, but I truly don't appreciate them. And I don't care. But what I do appreciate is turning on my nice speaker system and pouring a nice glass of wine and using good tools in my kitchen and making myself a home cooked meal. And now I tend to spend more money on creating a meal at home because I prefer the meal at home to going out to dinner. We went out to dinner on Monday and it was so stupid. It was just, and I'm at this restaurant just because we were tired and it was late and we're like, oh, let's just go have
Did you get the bloomin' onion?
It was, I should have gone there. I should have. I went to a local pizza place and I watched the manager get in a fight with a patron. You called my manager fat? Oh, it was just
awesome.
Go on. Tell us more about this. Actually, this sounds like a fun story. And then what happened?
Oh, they're both dressed in overalls. It's incredible. No, but it's those little moments. I mean, for me, I realized I like the holiday season much more than the day of Christmas. Like the day of Christmas is fine, but it's so full of expectations that I would put up my tree early this year. I listened to holiday music all season long. And this is it. This is the fun. Like just the waking up and turning on the tree is half the fun for me. Oh, gee, let's go to the last one then. Generosity. It's a great time to talk about generosity, being in the middle of a season that for a lot of people can tend to be a little selfish.
You think so? I don't know. Is it?
I think it can be. I can think I remember when I was younger, man, it was all about what can people get me?
Well, yeah, when you're like 8, sure.
Or 12. Or 26.
Or 12. Although I think some of it is environment too, because I was talking to Caroline. She's 8. She's in 3rd grade. And she was very diligently getting everybody's Christmas lists and writing them down of all the things, like what can I get you? What do you want? And all this stuff. And so she's texting me 2 nights ago and she said, what do you think about this? I mean, she's like it's not like she's in the other wing of the chalet, right? She's upstairs, but she's texting me. And so she's like, and I said, well, I think we'll do this. And she goes, no, I already talked to grandma. Grandma's going to take care of that one. And I'm like, what a little angel to like be worried about like, okay, we got to make sure everybody's taken care of it. I'm going to coordinate all this because either that's a reflection of my old man ain't going to do it. So I need to run it down for him.
Somebody in this family's got to care.
I need to draw this in crayon for him because if I don't, we're going to wake up with nothing on Christmas morning or maybe it's that we've done an okay job of like, helping everybody around us recognize that it's more fun to, have the surprises and the other things. But I got this from you years ago, Joe. We have an event for a bunch of my friends. We don't do it every year, but generally maybe every other year. And it's, kind of a big event, costs a few bucks. And everybody always asks the same question. Well, what do I bring? Like how much are the tickets? What do you need help with? And I go, no. I'll pick a charity and we usually pick something local here in the Dallas area. And I go, I don't care what you do, whatever you think you want to donate in an envelope made out to this place. If you're going to bring a check or cash, it goes into the, you're going to write, you're just putting it in an envelope and I'm putting it in an overnight envelope. And then when we're done at the night, I just tear off the sticker and I mail it. It goes overnight to the charity that we pick.
And nobody knows.
You can put $1 in there. I don't care. It's got to be an envelope. So don't be a jackwagon and put an empty envelope in there. But it doesn't matter to me what it is. I want the experience of us together as a group more than I want you to pay for some of it, if that makes sense.
It's so fun.
And then whatever you're able to do. And if it's $1, I'm sure they're grateful for the $1 because there's somebody else that's going to put, 500 in there. So if you can spend the majority of your time being thankful for the things that you have around, it's a lot easier to attract a lot more stuff when you're not looking for it, if you're just appreciative of the people that are around you and the relationships that you have and the money resources that you have and the stuff that you have right now, magically some other of those things show up. You get stronger relationships and you get more money and you are able to impact more lives and that sort of thing. So,
Paula, why does generosity feel so good to you?
There's a question, with money management of what's it all for? Like what, why are we doing, I talked earlier about the waking up to a blaring alarm when it's freezing temperatures outside, right? What's it really for? Like after the basics are covered, after you have food and shelter and, the bottom of the Maslow pyramid is taken care of, there needs to be some type of a reason that you keep showing up to work. And I think that that's where generosity comes in. And I think it manifests in a lot of ways. There's generosity when it comes to charitable donations. There's generosity when it comes to mentoring within your career or within your field or industry. There's generosity just in the way that you kind of interact with clients or with your employees. I think that more broadly, making an impact in some manner, particularly one that you can directly see, ultimately ends up being what it's all for.
But I do feel like in what Paul is saying, Doc, that there's a little bit of a paradox here because you kind of got to use the plane analogy, you got to put on your own life mask first before you can be generous and help everybody else put on their life mask.
Yeah, I think we do our best and we're most generous when we feel safe and comfortable and intentional ourselves. And so I think that's very true. I think you can give the most to other people. You can form the best interpersonal connections when you feel taken care of, right? We become more generous, hopefully, when we have our own sense of financial wealth and well-being and feel enough. And so I don't think they have to be mutually exclusive. In fact, I think one feeds the other. And so when we feel comfortable and safe within our own environs, whether that's within money or whether that has to do with purpose or whatever it has to do with, I think that's when the generosity can come forth much more naturally and do what generosity should do, which is the same thing that purpose should do, is it helps connect us to other people. And I think that's what happiness is about, right? It's about those connections.
Let's stick with you as we find out what everybody's doing at the place where they live. I heard there might be somebody that has a book coming out on this topic that we might have talked about on, last night in New York City with a bunch of our friends.
So the Purpose Code comes out January 7th. Basically, I described the purpose paradox, why purpose is both super important as well as anxiety ridden and what we can do about it. I'm really excited to get it out to the world.
Awesome. And people can pre-order it how?
Best way is to go to jordangrummet.com, JORDANGRUMET.com. You can find links to both my books there, as well as the Earn and Invest podcast, or just go to Amazon or wherever books are sold.
If you're walking the dog or in your commute, we'll have links on our show notes page, as we will to the Afford Anything show. So the big question, how is Paula Pant wrapping up 2025 on Afford Anything? What's coming up?
Oh, so end of the year. So we have an interview with Cody Sanchez. She is very well known for encouraging people to acquire businesses, which is that's not something that you hear about a lot. You hear a lot of people who have advice about how to start your own business, but Cody, her expertise is how to acquire businesses, and particularly Main Street businesses. So she is on the Afford Anything podcast. We also have Paulina Pompliano, who has interviewed a bunch of, her expertise is talking to really interesting people across a wide variety of domains, learning their stories, and then trying to glean universal truths from this very multidisciplinary data set. So we talked to her about all of the people that she's profiled and what she's learned from all of those stories.
Fabulous. And she's her whole story is interesting too. Her backstory is very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we'll link to Afford Anything on our show notes. Oh, gee, what do you got going on this weekend, the penultimate weekend before somebody's birthday?
I was thinking about writing a book. So if you just want to pre-order my book, just go to stackingbenjamins.com. Just, I don't know. How much is your book, Jordan? $25? Sound about right?
$27.99.
$27.99. So ours is going to be $24.99. So if I can get roughly 10,000 people to pre-order that, I will write it by June 1st. I promise. Hand to God. So
yes,
send everything to PayPal, Stacking Benjamins, $24.99.
And the book is called What ChatGPT Told Me to Write.
Oh no, I wouldn't do that. I mean, if there was 10,000 people that pre-ordered my book, I would put a pretty valiant effort into it, because that would be more book sales than Joe. And so therefore I'd have to make mine better than Joe.
That's all that matters.
Oh, ouch.
Oh my God.
I don't know. I actually don't know how many books you sold. You probably sold way more than that. But
it's like he's got no data. He's got no idea.
Anyways, nothing going on. We actually have football banquet this weekend for both my boys. You know, the school does the parents actually put on like a end of the season banquet. So all the awards and, you know, that kind of deal for the team. And it was a really great season for the kids, and happy to be a part of it and happy to watch them be successful and celebrate them.
Last two questions then. Paula, what field you working in after we're done recording?
Yeah, I gotta go plow, gotta go harvest. I guess it's December, so there wouldn't actually be a whole lot of outdoor work. I'm guessing.
No, that's why you can be here with us. That's why you can be here with us.
Exactly.
Yes. And then Doug, what's for dinner at your house tonight?
Cod. We're having cod.
Right. And Doug, you get the last question. What are the three big things we should remember from today's episode?
Well, Joe, here's what's stacked up on our to-do list for today. First, take some advice from the future star of The Simple Life with Nicole Richie and Paula Pant. Paula, take that piece of straw out of your teeth and give us more of that honest-to-goodness, down-home advice.
Never forget what it's all for. There's got to be a reason that you wake up to a blaring alarm.
Second, remember that really thought-provoking thing OG said? OG, hit us with that again.
Instead of having a party where everybody has to pay to come to your party, just collect money. And then if you feel like it, give it to charity.
You got options. But the big lesson? Don't tell your mom that Francis Drake should have been a rapper, because she'll just tell you she already has all his albums. I think that woman needs a hearing aid. Thanks to Paula Pant for hanging out with us today. You'll find her fabulous podcast, Afford Anything, wherever you listen to finer podcasts. Thanks also to Jordan Grummett, a.k.a. Doc G, for joining us today. You'll find his latest book, The Purpose Code, How to Unlock Meaning, Maximize Happiness, and Cook the Perfect Meatloaf wherever you buy books. Thanks also to OG for joining us. Looking for good financial help? Head to stackingbenjamins.com/OG for his calendar. This show is the property of SB Podcasts, LLC, copyright 2024, and is created by Saul-Sehy. You'll find out about our awesome team at stackingbenjamins.com, along with the show notes and how you can find us on YouTube and all the usual social media spots. Come say hello. Oh yeah, and before I go, not only should you not take advice from these nerds, don't take advice from people you don't know. This show is for entertainment purposes only. Before making any financial decisions, speak with a real financial advisor. I'm Joe's mom's neighbor, Doug, and we'll see you next time back here at the Stacking Benjamin Show.